Hello and welcome to Capital Conversations with Attorney Kendrick. I am the owner of Kendrick Law Practice, which is a boutique securities law firm based here in Lithonia, Georgia. And I decided to get on Periscope and to give some information out to you entrepreneurs that are looking to raise capital. So hopefully this will be informative. Hopefully we'll get a lot of feedback. And since this is a live and interactive use of social media, hopefully you will ask me questions. So if you are live now and you have any questions about anything that I chat about, you can type it in and it'll pop up on the screen. Administration from Kennesaw State. I'm also a FINRA, Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. I'm a FINRA, non-public arbitrator, so I get to arbitrate disputes between investors and companies all the time, which is always a good time. All right, so I wanted to start with what is private capital, and I'll do as many of these videos as long as people keep logging on and asking me questions and following. So hopefully this becomes sort of a daily thing that people are able to. Hi, somebody said Roderick 54 said hello, so hi to Roderick 54. This is a really great use of interaction between me and the followers and the users that are out there. So make sure you follow me on Periscope, and I hope to do a lot more of these so that we can grow our businesses, create generational wealth by learning about how to access private capital. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started. So I wanted to give you a few things, but first, I wouldn't be a good attorney if I didn't give you a few disclaimers. So here are a few disclaimers that I have. First of all, this presentation does not create an attorney-client relationship, nor will any specific legal advice be given. Furthermore, this presentation does not include all the laws, rules, and regulations required for a proper and legal private placement offering if you're trying to raise private capital. Please consult a knowledgeable securities attorney before making a solicitation to an investor. So that's my disclaimer for the day. Let's go ahead and get started with the information you logged on for. So I want to give you a few numbers about the world of private capital. And these numbers are going to blow your mind. So over $17 billion, billion with a B, in angel investing occurred to over 57,000 businesses just in 2009. Over $4 billion with a B in venture capital funding in 1982. Now listen to this, over $300 billion just in 2007, and I'm sure that number has went up. Over 1.6 trillion, that's trillion with a T, in private equity overall has been invested in businesses between 2000 and 2009. And the quarter before last saw the most private equity investment in a quarter since the early 2000s. So how many of your businesses have a piece of that $1.6 trillion in private equity fund? If you have not received a piece of that, that's exactly why I'm here, to give you the information and the tools that you need in order to access this abundance of private equity money that's out there. And of course, Kendrick Law Practice, my law firm, can help you with all the legal compliance once you do find the investors that are really ready to invest in your business. All right, so let's talk about what is private capital. And I get this question a lot because I think a lot of people assume that private capital includes a lot of things, which it does not. So let's just clear the air and get that started. So what is private capital? Private capital includes hedge funds, which of course are on a different regulatory scheme than normal and usually deal with high net worth investors and doesn't have the same regulatory scheme as other types of funds. We're talking about venture capital. So whenever you hear of a venture capital firm, that is exactly what we're talking about. Firms that go out and specifically seek to invest in high growth businesses in order to generate a return for their firm. We're talking about leveraged buyouts, which is a whole nother topic. I literally could do a whole topic on leveraged buyouts. But just know that leveraged buyouts, what we call LBOs, are a part of the private capital world that I specialize in. We're also talking about angel investors. Everybody's heard of an angel investor. Again, another topic that I could talk hours about. The difference between angel investors and venture capitalists is really like day and night. But we're talking about angel investors, these high net worth individuals who give to more risky businesses. We're also talking about family and friends, whether your friends be rich or your family is rich, or if they are not rich. We're talking about that type of private investment where you're not listed on the New York Stock Exchange and you have met the regulatory requirements not to have to register with the Securities and Exchange Commission. And then we're talking about other convertible notes and other types of debt. Now let's talk about what is not private capital. And this is something that people, for whatever reason, get mixed up. But let's go over what is not private capital because it's an important distinction. Rewards-based crowdfunding is not private capital. So you might have heard of Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Those are what we call rewards-based crowdfunding. It's not regulation crowdfunding that's regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commissions, and with the various states have blue sky laws that are regulated by the Secretary of State. We're not talking about regulation crowdfunding, which is my specialty. We're talking about rewards-based crowdfunding when you're talking about Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And of course, you need a good accountant and attorney for that. But as a private capital attorney, that's not the type of crowdfunding that I'm talking about. So if you have a Kickstarter campaign or if you have an Indiegogo campaign, then I'm not your attorney, although I still love you. The other thing that we're not talking about is grants that come from the government. For obvious reason, the word private means private, and grants are usually public grants. They have to be used for a specific purpose, and you don't have to pay them back, which is one of the bigger things. So we're not talking about grants when we're talking about private capital. Another thing we're not talking about, obviously, is public companies because of the word private. So we're not talking about the companies that you own stock in or in your 401k or things that are listed on any stock exchange because those are publicly traded stocks. We're talking about private capital and companies that want to remain private and not have to go through the regulatory scheme of doing the reporting and be listed on the stock exchange. We're talking about private capital for private companies. And then the other thing we're not talking about is loans, your traditional loans that you go to a bank and get. We're really talking about investment, private investment money when we're talking about private capital. So that's it. That's sort of a teaser to some of the things that I'll be doing on my Periscope, just going subject by subject. And if I find an interesting article or an interesting blog, then I'll get on here and hopefully you'll be able to tune in for 10 or 15 minutes and just listen to me talk about the world of private capital that I'm so interested in. And of course, if you have any questions, one of the things I love about Periscope is that you can ask live questions. So if anybody has any questions, then you can type it in and I'll be able to see it pop up on my little screen there and I can answer it for you. But this is a more than easier way to get this started. Thank you, Roderick Cunningham with the Beverly Cunningham Outreach Program, who services so many youth and victims of domestic violence in DeKalb and Gwinnett County. Thank you so much for tuning in. If anybody has any more questions, you can always email me, dkendrick@kendricklaw.net, or you can visit my website, www.kendricklaw.net, and sign up for a time to chat. We do offer free consultations to discuss services only. No legal advice is given, but we do have a 1-hour consultation where you can come in and you can speak with us about how you want to raise capital, and we can give you some options and some things and do's and don'ts and things like that. But thank you so much for everyone tuning in, and I will do these videos, whenever I get the opportunity to, and hopefully you encourage people to follow me on Periscope. Just search for Darshawn Kendrick. All right, until next time, thanks everyone.